Hello there, it's Sarah from Paper Lovely. Thanks for joining me today. I have got 3 cards to share with you that I created using the Spellbinders small die kit for the month of September. Giving you a quick look at what was included in the dies there, and I absolutely loved this kit. I had so much fun putting all these trick-or-treaters together. They are some really tiny pieces and it's really detailed, but when you get that finished product in your hand, it is just, oh, I love it. So I am going to take you through the first 3 here that are included and planned in this kit. It's the ghost, and then the skeleton, and the devil. And then I was looking at these and I thought there has to be more that we could come up with, other designs that we could create. So I have 3 more to share with you, but honestly, I think that the sky's the limit. I mean, you could really make just about anything with these little characters. So I'm going to show you these first 3 here, and then I will be back to walk you through the additional 3 that I created. For those of you who maybe just want to skip ahead to the cards, this is a bit time consuming as I take you through all of them. If you just want to see how I put the cards together, you want to skip to around the 7-minute mark. Okay, so for this first one that I came up with here, I'm going to create a monster, and I was inspired by the little monster outfit that Boo wears on Monsters Inc. So I'm going to create those googly eyes, and I did that by using 2 of the tails from the devil costume. And as you can see, I flipped one to the reverse side, and then I've layered them together along the bottom on that larger curve. For the little eyeballs at the top, I used the centers of the letters that were cut out to spell out Eekaboo. And then, of course, glued those at the opposite end of the tail. The rest I put together normally. And then you'll see I'm going to do a little belly patch, so this looks a little bit more like pajamas. And that portion that I'm using is actually the inside of the little hood that cuts out. And then I used my memento marker to add the dots for the eyes. So for this guy here, I'm going to turn him into a dinosaur. I have cut out from the darker green color, again, a hood. I'm going to use that inside piece for a belly panel. And then I've trimmed out 3 of the devil horns and then 2 of those little tips that would go at the end of the devil tail, also in that same matching green. Those are going to be sort of the spikes that are sticking up off of my dinosaur. And I wanted to create a little tail for him, so I'm just going to lay him out on the paper here, and I'll just draw that in. And I went over this quite a bit until I got a shape that I liked, and then I will just go ahead and erase that once I have it cut out. I'm gonna add a little glue and place that on the back here. And then I'm gonna line up these little horns to create my spikes on my dinosaur. So I'm staggering these at the very end. I'm gonna leave that just a little short one sticking up there. And then I'm sort of staggering one in the middle and one a little bit longer. You don't see a whole lot of this, but it gives you the idea so you can tell what it is that I'm trying to do. And then on the top, again, I wanted to make it look like those spikes were running all the way down the back of that dinosaur. So I'm just adding those two little horns and again staggering those. For this last one, I'm creating a superhero. So this one is pretty basic. I am going to put this guy together just like all of the others, and then I did trim out one of the intersections of that hood in red, and of course made my boots to match. So once I get him together here, I'm gonna place that chest piece just up a little bit higher, so it's less of a tummy piece and more of sort of an emblem for his superhero costume. I was going for a Spider-Man look, but unfortunately I did not have any small spider stickers or a small die that would work to put a spider on the front. So I went in my stash and I did find sort of a star sticker that gave the idea of a spider, I thought. So he's just going to be sort of a knockoff Spider-Man here. But I placed that down on front, and really I think you could make a whole batch of all the different superheroes. You just have to find the emblems or maybe use your Cricut to cut them out if you could get it to cut that small. So we are jumping right in here to card number 1. I've got a card base made from MFT's Black Licorice, and I pulled out 4 of these little characters. They fit almost perfectly across the front of this card, and I wanted them to all be trick-or-treating together, but holding hands. And the ghost is just slightly, the hands are slightly lower, so that's all right. He's just going to be sort of my extra excited kid that is leading the pack and sort of dragging them all along with him. So I'm just adding a dot of glue on their little hands and getting this row placed together, so I've got that all nice and straight. And then I have some really sparkly glitter ribbon that I had picked up at the dollar store. So I'm adding some 1/2-inch Scor-Tape behind that, and that's going to create sort of a little base, kind of like my little road that they're going to be walking on. So I'll peel away that background and then, or backing, and then go ahead and place this down. So I will go ahead here and trim off that excess, and I had quite a bit left over, so I actually stuck that on the back of that leftover backing from the Scor-Tape. Hopefully I can use that on something again. I wanted to add a little bit more definition to my ghost, so I'm going to pop him up just a little bit here, 1 layer of some Scotch foam tape. I think if I were to do this again, I would do a double layer because there is a little bit of dimension there, but it's not quite what I was looking for. So I think I would do either a double layer of this, or maybe I would use some pop dots instead because those are a little bit thicker. But I'm happy with how it turned out. So once I've got that down, I wanted to make sure that I got all of these guys super straight going along that road. And the ghost is, again, sort of further in front. So I'm going to line that little guy up first. Make sure I've got him nice and straight and positioned down properly. And then I just made sure that the little feet of the other guys were at least touching the top of that road. Oh, there, I'll add 1 more piece of foam tape underneath the pumpkin candy basket there. So once I'm then happy with this positioning, I'm going to add some art glitter glue behind all of the other characters and get them pressed down in place. I'm going to add a little sentiment strip running across the bottom, and I've pulled out the Lawn Fawn Costume Party stamp set. I'm going to use their Trick or Treat. I'll stamp that out using my Simon Says Stamp black ink and then trim that down. I think this ended up being probably almost exactly 1/4 inch, very close to that. And I'll add some foam tape behind there. Gonna trim that edge off on a little bit of an angle. Then I realized I needed a little bit more foam tape. I wanted that to stick over just slightly longer than what I had given myself. I'll peel away that backing and then go ahead and press this into place. For the inside, I've got a Nina panel trimmed to 4x5 1/4. I've grabbed another sentiment from that Lawn Fawn Costume Party set, and this one reads Treats, of course. Again, stamping that out using my Simon Says Stamp black ink. I'll add some ATG to the back and place that on the inside of my card base. And that will complete card number 1. So here for card number 2, I wanted to create another trick-or-treater scene. I have grabbed another stamp set from my stash. This is Mama Elephant MEOWY WOOFMAS. This is one of my favorite Christmas sets from the last couple of years. And I wanted to create sort of a front porch look. So I'm going to keep this really sort of a sketched background look. I'm not going to color this in, just the black ink on the white background. I've added in the door here, just putting that partially on there to give some movement and the idea of a larger scene. And then I've added some stairs here as well. Those are also included in the same stamp set. And I'm going to lay out my characters. I wanted to try to fit everybody on there, but the adding the 6th one was just too much. So I have put in everybody except the ghost. And I'm just sort of strategically arranging these guys to make sure that you can see the most of their costumes. So I'm going to make sure that dinosaur, you can see his tail, and also the monster, you can see his googly eyes there. Once I'm happy with my placement, I'm going to grab some foam tape again. And this time I'm going to have a few layers layered on top of each other. So I am going to still only use one layer for the background layer, but I did get more dimension because the 2 characters that are in the front, they got a double layer in some portions. So this really does have some nice depth to it when it's finished. Oh, there I realized I forgot to add the eyes to the back of this little character, so I'm just placing that in really quickly here. And I'll add just about 1/4 inch strip of foam tape just where I want to keep this nice and even, where the other portion is going to go on top of the already popped up character. And again, here I'll work my way from the back to the front. These back 2 are going to get just 1 layer of the foam tape. Again, I wanted to try and stagger these and also have just a slight little bit of the character going off the scene to give the idea that it was a much bigger picture. Lastly, I'll add some foam tape to the back of this monster, and I'm going to add just 1 more layer about halfway down, again, just to keep this even as I place the others on top of the already popped up ones in the back. I'm trying to place him so that his eyes aren't covering the face of our dinosaur guy. And there we go. So once I'm happy, I'll make sure everything is pressed into place, and then I'll just take my scissors and trim around the edges. Again, I wanted to stamp a sentiment. I have grabbed some black licorice cardstock. I'm using that costume party stamp set from Fawn, and I will stamp out Trick or Treat. I've added some of my anti-static powder there, and I'll stamp this using Versamark ink, and then go ahead and heat set this using some Simon Says Stamp Fine Detail White embossing powder. I've trimmed that down here, and at first I went with an angle cut on this. I didn't want to cover too much of the door, but I also didn't want to cover any of the characters, so sort of had to go in that area. I'm going to add some foam tape to the back, and then as I started to place that down, I decided I didn't really like the angle there, so I'm just going to straighten that edge out again, and I'll place that down. Go ahead and trim off the excess. And then I realized that none of my little characters had a candy pail, and they were supposed to be out trick-or-treating, so I made a bunch of these as I was putting all the characters together just so I would have them if I needed them, and I'll add a little dot of glue there and place that in his hand. I'll add some ATG to the back and place this on top of my card base. This card base is made from MFT Steel Gray cardstock. Again, for the inside, I'm on a Nina panel trimmed to 4x5 1/4, and I'll stamp out that Happy Halloween sentiment. That is, again, also from the Fawn costume party stamp set. Add some ATG to the back of that and place that on the inside of the card base. And that will complete card number 2. So here for card number 3, I'm going to keep this pretty simple. My last 2 were pretty busy. So I've grabbed, this is the same type of glitter ribbon, just in a purple color. Again, I've added some 1/2" Scor-Tape to the back of that. I'm going to peel away the backing, and I'm going to place that towards the top of my card base. This is another MFT Black Licorice card base. And I've got my Eekaboo sentiment up there spelled out, ready to go. I'm going to place that, glue that down directly on top of this glitter ribbon. I love that green, that's MFT Limelight. I love that green mixed with that glittery purple. So I will list all of the colors of cardstock that I use to create all the little characters for you underneath a photo of them on my blog post. So if you want to copy them exactly, you'll be able to. And I've sped this up quite a bit here. Just carefully gluing all of these letters into place. For my little ghosts, I'm going to pop them up using some sticky thumb dots. I'll peel away the backing and then place both of these on top of the card base. And I just wanted to have them, again, holding hands. They're out trick-or-treating together. And so I'm just going to line this up to make sure that I have it positioned where I want it to be. And then I'll peel away the backing on the second one and place that down as well. I kept thinking I was out of position there, but when you take in the extent of how far the little orange pail goes, I did have them centered, but for some reason it wasn't looking quite right to my eye at first. and then finally I gave in and just placed it down. And I added a little bit of glue there just underneath their hands to make sure they stay stuck together. For the inside, I've got a Nina panel trimmed to 4x5¼ and I'm gonna again stamp out that Happy Halloween sentiment. I'll add some ATG to the back and place that on the inside of my card base. And that will complete card number 3. Here are a few close-ups of the finished cards. In the description box below, you'll find my blog post, which has additional photos and links to the supplies I used. If you enjoyed the video, please leave me a comment or a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.